Hello Star Wars fans, and may the 4th be with you. Today I thought it would be fitting to review Hyperspace Mountain at Disneyland Paris, easily the most unique and extreme of Disney's Space Mountain coasters. Most of the Space Mountain coasters focus on sharp drops and turns in complete darkness, and these other versions have no inversions. Most of the thrill comes from the darkened environment. Meanwhile, Paris's Hyperspace Mountain has that same dark environment, except this coaster is a launched multi-looper. In many ways, Hyperspace Mountain feels like an earlier version of Rock and Roller Coaster. Hyperspace Mountain is the anchor of the park's Discoveryland area, and it's my personal favorite Space Mountain for looks. It looks incredible. The multicolored paint scheme looks undeniably futuristic, and the massive cannon is both iconic and imposing. Seeing a train blast through the cannon straight into the mountain adds so much kinetic energy to the land. Disney fans have been mixed about the retheme from Space Mountain to Hyperspace Mountain. People have almost universally praised the updated trains. Replacing the hard over-the-shoulder restraints with soft vests was a major win because this coaster is not the smoothest. I am almost certain I would have hated this ride if I rode it with the traditional over-the-shoulder restraints it used to have, because there is no way to brace for the elements because you are in complete darkness. Where fans are divided is with the Star Wars theme. People were sad to see the Jules Verne theming disappear in favor of Star Wars. I never rode the original, but I will say this. The Hyperspace Mountain visuals are more strategically placed and better timed on Paris's version when compared to the temporary overlay in California. Hyperspace Mountain is one of the park's most popular rides, but wait times were very manageable during my visit because this thing is a capacity machine. It's as efficient as the Incredicoaster. This is a dual loading platform with many 24-person trains. Plus, this coaster does have a single rider line that was always a walk-on. My favorite seat was definitely the front. Because of the high seat backs, it was a bit harder to see some of the visual effects further back in the train. Plus, up front, you get a heightened sense of speed, especially during that launch. From a force perspective, all of the rows felt equivalent to me. As you stroll out of the station, the onboard audio starts and excitement builds as you hear the familiar Star Wars theme. You then travel down a short dip and park yourself at the base of the cannon. Now, in terms of raw stats, the launch in Hyperspace Mountain doesn't look all that impressive. You only reach speeds of 44 miles per hour in just under 2 seconds. But this launch takes place on an incline, so this launch packs a deceptive punch and feels very similar to the launch on Lightning Rod. You then slowly crest over the top and regain some speed as you whip around a forceful turn. You then regain all of your speed as you head down this banked double down, which offers some surprisingly decent airtime for a Disney coaster. That's followed by an extremely forceful sidewinder. Hyperspace Mountain reportedly pulls 4.9 Gs, and I'm almost certain this is where that occurs. I was floored a Disney coaster could pull forces like that, but I absolutely loved it. This element feels far more intense than anything on Rock and Roller Coaster. After a few more turns, you cruise through a corkscrew that's honestly my favorite part of the ride. Not only do you have a lot of speed as you traverse this element, but it takes place over a TIE fighter battle and the effect is absolutely incredible. You then hit a brief intermission as you crawl up a booster lift and dive back down to the abyss. This is probably the ride's single largest drop and it gives some really solid floater airtime. The second half really maintains the speed as you whip around several turns and through an element that RCDB calls a tongue. To me, this feels like something in between an overbank and a cutback inversion, but whatever it is, it's quite disorienting in complete darkness. What I really like about the second half of this ride are those visuals. You have multiple screens continuing the space battle from earlier, and a really disorienting tunnel with strobes. Now, there is one flaw with Hyperspace Mountain, I mentioned it earlier, and that's how it tracks. This is not a smooth ride. You are shuffled around quite a bit during the ride. It's not headache-inducing because of the restraints, but you will bang your elbow against the cars because they really box you in. I personally found this ride very re-rideable because, again, it didn't hit my head, but I can see others not liking it. So what do I rate Paris's Hyperspace Mountain? I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think this is one of the most underrated Disney attractions. It probably deserved all the hate that it received with the original restraints, but now riders can appreciate the coaster's theming and intensity without any headbanging. This was my favorite ride at Disneyland Paris, and I'll take it over a majority of B&M loopers. What are your thoughts about Paris's Hyperspace Mountain? I'm especially interested to hear the thoughts of people who rode it before and after the refurbishment. Subscribe for more coaster reviews here at Canby Coaster, and thank you for listening.